Two brothers, Qasim and Alibaba, lived in Persia. Qasim married a rich widow and became prosperous. Alibaba was a poor woodcutter who lived with his wife. He chopped wood in the forest every day and sold it in the market. One day in the forest, Alibaba saw some riders coming. He was frightened, so he climbed up a tree. 40 thieves rode into the forest. As Alibaba watched, they tied their horses and took large bags from their horses' backs. The robber chief walked up to the rock and cried out, "Open sesame!" Alibaba watched in the amazement as a large door opened in the rock. The robbers went in and the door closed. After a while it opened. The thieves came out with empty bags. The robber chief turned and said, "Close sesame," and the door closed before they rode away. Alibaba, wondering what was inside the cave, stood before the rock and said, "Open sesame." The door swung open and he looked around stunned. The cave was full of the most fabulous treasures: gold, silver, gems, and much more. Alibaba collected as much gold as he could and closed the door of the cave, saying, "Close sesame." Reaching home, Alibaba carried the bags and shut the doors and windows. Then he told his wife about this adventure and instructed her that no one should know of it. But Alibaba's wife went to Qasim's wife and borrowed her scales to measure the gold. Qasim's wife was curious to know what Alibaba's wife wanted to weigh. So she put some glue on the base of the scales and gave it to her. When the scales were returned, she found a piece of gold stuck to them. She told Qasim about it, and he found out the whole story from Alibaba. Qasim then decided to get some of the treasure for himself. Meanwhile, the thieves had discovered that some of their gold was missing. They decided to wait for the thieves to return. Qasim went into the cave, saying, "Open sesame." But he was so dazzled seeing the gold that he forgot the correct words for getting out. So he was trapped. When the robbers saw Qasim, they killed him. When Qasim didn't return that night, Alibaba went to the cave to find him. He saw his brother dead and took his body away. He then went to Qasim's house. He told Marjina, his maid, about Qasim's death. "We must stitch up his wounds and bury him as if he died a normal death," he told her. 5. Marjina went to an old cobbler, Mustafa. She blindfolded him and took him to Qasim's house. She gave him some gold to stitch up Qasim's wounds. Upon finding Qasim's body missing, the chief of the robbers declared the body was removed by someone. "We must find him." One of his men went to the town and soon met Mustafa. He began to brag, What to say of shoes? I have been stitched a body. Where was that? Said the robber. I can only find it. I am blindfolded, said Mustafa. After being blindfolded, he led the robber to Qasim's house. The robber marked the door and informed the chief. Marjina saw the mark on the door. Quietly, she marked all the doors in the neighborhood. When the thieves came that night, they couldn't find the house. Then chief of the thieves himself went with Mustafa and identified the house. The chief, disguised as a merchant, took mules with 2 jars on each saddle. 1 jar contained oil, and all others had robbers inside. He went up to Alibaba's house and said to him politely, "Sir, it's late, and I have no place to stay. I have to sell this oil in the market tomorrow. May I rest in your house tonight?" Alibaba gave him a room to sleep in. The chief whispered to his men that they must come out as soon as he gave a signal. Marjina was finishing her work in the yard, where all the jars were kept. Hearing her footsteps, one of the thieves said softly, "Is it time, master?" "Not yet," she said, and on checking the jars, found a man in each jar. She poured boiling oil into each jar, killing all the robbers. When the chief found all the members of his gang dead, he climbed the wall and ran for his life. Thereafter, Ali Baba and his family lived on the fabulous treasure in the cave and had no fear of robbers.